Okay, so today we are going to be converting angle measurements. So as of right now, we've only talked about angles being in degrees. We did all our word problems and all our trig ratios in degrees. But there's actually another unit you can measure angles with as well, and it's called radians. So in your warm-up, if you could just look at the answers, you worked on simple conversion factors. So that's exactly what we're going to do today, except for with this new thing called radians. So we're going to go from degrees to radians and radians to degrees. So before we do that, we need to know some information. And the first thing we need to know is how many degrees are in a circle. So there's 360 degrees in a circle, if you remember from your geometry class. How many radians are in a circle? Believe it or not, you kind of know the answer to this question, even if you've never heard of a radian before. Because if you can recall from geometry class, the circumference of a circle, so all the way around, is 2 pi r. R standing for radius. So what it's saying is there's 2 pi radiuses around the circle. Well, 2 pi is in fact radians. Radiuses, radians. So we have this new measurement of angles called radians, and that means there's 2 pi radians, or RADs, in a circle. So that means that there's 2 pi radians in a circle and 360 degrees in a circle. 360 is equal to 2 pi. So knowing that, we are now going to figure out our conversion factor. So if we want to convert degrees to radians, this is what we want to do. We want to take our degree amount and we want to multiply it by 2 pi over 360. Because remember, these two are equal. Now, if you've realized you have a 2 on top and a 360 on bottom, you can actually simplify this. So to convert degrees to radians, you're going to take your degree amount, and you're going to multiply it by pi over 180. All I did was simplify that. So this is how we're going to convert degrees to radians. Radians to degrees is very similar. We're going to take a radian amount, and we're going to multiply it by 360 over 2 pi, because remember these are equal. And so then our radian amount is really being multiplied by 180 over pi in order to get the degrees. Hint, if you are converting to radians, all radians have pi's left in them. And it's also a simplified fraction. So we're going to do a couple examples of these really quick. And once you figured out the actual conversion factor, it's just going to be as quick as 3 hours to minutes. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to do 1 and 2 together. So for number 1, it says 120. So we have a degree and we want it into radians. And again, you want it fully simplified fraction in terms of pi. So we're going to take our degree amount 120. We're going to multiply it by pi over 180, like the rule says. We're going to see that it's 120 divided by 180. What is 120 divided by 180? Well, I can see the zeros, first of all. So it's 12 pi over 18, but that's not fully simplified. 12 and 18, 6 goes into both of them, making this 2 pi over 3. That's how I want it written. I want it in fraction, fully simplified, no decimals, and I want the pi still there. So let's do 40. We'll take 40. We multiply it by pi over 180. Realize we can simplify the zeros at least. So we have a 4 pi over 18. We still have to simplify 4 and 18. So they're both divisible by 2, making it 2 pi over 9. You're going to do 3 and 4 on your own and submit that. Now we're going to convert into degrees. So notice, every single one of these are radians. Radians have pi's, they have simplified fractions. So we're going to take 5 pi over 6. Follow our rule where we're going to multiply it by 180 over pi. If we remember how to do fractions, we have a pi on top, pi on bottom, they can cancel. So in this case, I'm taking my calculator, I'm typing 5 times 180 divided by 6. When I do that, I get 150. Notice again how the pi's are gone. It looks like a normal degree. We're going to do number 6. It's pi over 5. We're going to take pi over 5, multiply it by 180 over pi. The pi's cancel. Notice how I just left with 180 divided by 5. I type that into my calculator and I get 36 degrees. I'm going to circle these answers. And then you're going to try converting 7 and 8 on your own.